It is right at 10 o'clock, and we are sticklers about staying on schedule. We have a lot more who have registered, who have not yet joined, but I want to start on schedule because I know everybody has very important things to do, but we're very grateful and thankful that you're able to join us amidst all the chaos and craziness that is going on around us. This is hopefully going to be something you'll find to be useful, and we're excited to welcome all of you and welcome our good friends with Fluree-A to discuss some of the exciting things they are doing in the world of blockchain. My name is Farouk Oxeton. I'm one of the co-chairs of the North Carolina Blockchain Initiative. I want to also point out my esteemed colleagues and my co-chair partners, Dan Spooler and Eric Porper. And together, we've been blessed to be given an opportunity to take up this challenge to bring information about blockchain and all the innovation that is happening in that space and how it pertains to North Carolina and its future in utilizing such technology to do great things. A little background and a quick introduction. I do want to start by thanking the Lieutenant Governor, Dan Forest, and his team for their leadership and their willingness and foresight to allow us to put this initiative together and give us a platform to further the goal of educating our state about the ways in which blockchain will help create a better future for us all. What is the Blockchain Initiative? The North Carolina Blockchain Initiative was formed on July 2nd, 2019, under the supervision of the Office of the Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, Dan Forest. And the strategic component of NCBI is to study, examine, and evaluate the unique attributes and use cases of blockchain technology, virtual assets, smart contracts, and digital tokens, with the ultimate goal of promoting opportunities for economic growth, cost efficiencies, and strengthening the North Carolina as a leader in technological innovation. And again, on behalf of my colleagues, Eric Porper and Dan Spooler, we want to thank each of you for joining us. We also want to thank each of the members of the North Carolina Blockchain Initiative. There's going to be a list of their names and their professional backgrounds on the screen momentarily. And please stay tuned for future webinars and other updates from us as we hope to use the power of innovative technologies like blockchain and forging out a clear path through and beyond the current COVID-19 crisis. We're very excited to welcome Fluree and their Chief Sales Officer, Scott Benson, who's going to be speaking to you. And I'm going to turn it over to him without further ado. And again, thank you all for joining us.
All right, well, thank you very much. I'm just I'm now the host.
Thanks again, Scott. Yeah, you're good to go, my friend. Thank you so much.
No, that's great. I appreciate the introduction, and we're certainly pleased and happy to support the blockchain, the North Carolina Blockchain Initiative. Everyone, you can see my screen, okay, Farouk?
Yes.
Okay, so we're just today is really going to be maybe a little bit elementary, basic, but we had talked about doing an introduction to blockchain specifically for the enterprise space. It's something that obviously Fluree believes very strongly in and believes in the value propositions behind blockchain. So let's jump in. We'll take a look at kind of what blockchain is, talk about the benefits, talk briefly about some of the different types that you'll see out there, and then talk about some of the roadblocks that exist and kind of what we see as the path beyond some of those roadblocks. So blockchain, really very simply, it's a distributed digital ledger that uses peer-to-peer consensus within a decentralized network to validate transactions and a hashtag algorithm to cryptographically link them in chronologically chain of records. So very simple, succinct definition there. No idea why anybody would find blockchain confusing at all. But at the same time, and all joking aside, this is actually not a bad definition. It just has a lot jammed into it. And I thought maybe it would be a good exercise to kind of break this down into a little bit into more digestible pieces. Again, with the enterprise kind of in mind. So a distributed is kind of the first thing that pops up there. It's copied, so the blockchain is copied and it's shared across a network of computers. And a lot of times you will see, you'll hear computers, you'll hear it referred to as nodes, but it's basically this notion that we're distributing the blockchain across the network. Ledger. It's exactly what you would think of. It's just a computerized record instead of in a notebook of all historical transactions listed chronologically. Peer-to-peer, this is really, so think Napster, think BitTorrent, but again, it's this idea, nobody sits above another necessarily, everybody has equal rights, everybody has a copy of the database. Consensus, this is kind of, again, if you're new to the blockchain space, this is, if everybody's friends, if everyone's a peer on the equal playing field, you've got to have some mechanism to arrive at agreement when new data is coming onto the blockchain. So consensus is the mechanism there. There are a number of types of consensus, and you'll hear algorithms, protocols. Bitcoin uses something called proof of work. You'll also hear proof of stake. Raft, Byzantine fault tolerance has a couple of iterations, but again, it's the mechanism used to for this peer-to-peer environment to reach agreement. And again, kind of hitting back on the decentralized. So everybody has a copy of the database. There's no one single person that we come to for approval. And again, it's a network that's built in. Transactions, so this is the updating or the transferring of an asset or the documentation of an event. The hashing algorithm is really kind of the secret sauce, if you will, but taking that transaction and giving that transaction a digital fingerprint, if you will, that's unique and not able to be taken apart or reverse engineered, if you will. And then the real secret and what makes blockchain so attractive is that you're taking the hashing algorithm of your current block that you're working on, and you're mixing in the hash of the block that was previously produced. Hence the chain notion of blockchain. And it really, that's where the immutability aspect comes in. So you can't tamper with the data as you go through or as you go forward. What I just said. So what, I guess, is the next test, right? So what are the benefits? Why do you care about all of those little individual pieces that we just walked through? The fact that you can have this immutable data source, this locked in time, unchangeable ledger, if you will, is really attractive. And it's not something, if you think about the enterprise space today, it's not something that we have. And again, the tamper resistance, the being able to operate in a trustless environment. And that always sounds ominous to somebody that's new to the space, but there are so many industries that live in a trustless or some version of a trustless environment. So if you think about supply chain, if you think about the American healthcare system, there's the payment space around the globe. There's lots of environments where there's players that have to interact with each other that don't necessarily completely trust each other, and blockchain just alleviates all of those anxiety points marvelously. So different types. Different types. This is not my slide, but kind of gives a big snapshot of the different contexts that you'll see blockchain pulled into. The enterprise space, by and large, fits kind of in that bottom right quadrant under record keeping. So, you see healthcare, title records, ownership, supply chain kind of fits into that slice as well, voting, intellectual property, but not so much in the at least from our perspective from a Fluree standpoint. We're really focused on that kind of enterprise use cases and applications versus maybe some of the more crypto-y type applications, which are great. And this is, really kind of talking specifically to the enterprise, right? So there are definitely some roadblocks. The technology, it's new, relatively speaking. It has some complexity. I joked and had that verbose definition of what it is, but there is some complexity to it. There are some different moving parts, different components that you've got to be comfortable with. And then the piece that goes part and parcel with that is that there's a growing amount of knowledge of subject matter experts out there, but when it comes to developing applications and programming languages, the pool of folks that are available to develop an app on top of something, to add blockchain into your existing tech stack, it can be a challenge. And then the piece that, at least I think from Fluree's perspective, that we would put forth as one of the biggest challenges for blockchain in the enterprise space is the data problem, right? So as you go into and move into the blockchain space, it is immensely capable and very efficient at documenting the fact, documenting a transaction. So I give you $100. It is designed to do that, from its genesis. But in the enterprise space, you oftentimes want to know more about that transaction, right? So you have different types of data, whether it be invoices, images, identities, different elements, and blockchain doesn't do a great job, when you start hanging all of this additional data off of it, for a couple of reasons. One is that it's really, really expensive to store any amount of data in a blockchain. It's just not what they were designed for. So whether it's, Ethereum is the one that comes to mind, that, a gig of data is just astronomically expensive to store. And then the big thing, from the enterprise perspective, it's you can't query it. So even if you are, don't care about budget and you're storing all your data, querying data on most of the blockchain solutions that are available today are just you can't do it. So that's really kind of the slot, if you will, that Fluree has kind of exploited, if you will, or kind of seen a need for. So we bring to the table these really interesting blockchain aspects. So the immutability, the decentralization, the ability to do time travel within your application because of the immutability of the blockchain aspect. But then we've coupled it with kind of the next generation, semantic graph database. So now you're kind of coupling together these two really great technology concepts And what we believe is we're positioning ourselves to be the, the backbone, if you will, of that next gen, the next generation of applications that are coming down the pipe. So things like, Web3, so, putting your app in a position where you can really embrace, Web3 technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all of those type of things is really kind of the angle and the need that we've kind of brought to the table. And I thought it'd be worth just going through a couple of customer snapshots just to give you a sense of kind of where we're seeing some success. So Fluree, we have a free version on our website that you are more than welcome to download. And that brings you into our community edition. Right now we have about 10,000 projects active on that. But then some of the kind of, higher level ones, more enterprise level, the US Air Force, as you can imagine, has just a tremendous amount of data under various different umbrellas that needs to be shared depending on a situation to various constituents. So it could be an allied partner, it could be certain places, certain geographic locations, it could be law enforcement, just depending on the situation. So it's been a really interesting journey with them to start working on some of the projects that they've got in mind. Fabric, again, a really big idea, looking to displace or at least disrupt the ad space online. So the idea would be to give brands the ability to pay for the right to pay the consumer for the right to market to them. So instead of a brand paying Facebook or Google, you could sign up through the Fabric platform and be rewarded for giving permission to a brand to market directly to you. Trust Clarity is doing some really interesting things in the aftermarket, telco and datacom repair space. So the ability to create a trusted marketplace for aftermarket components that you can see sourcing information, track where it's been, and who's owned it, see chain of custody, and those type of things. Really interesting idea there. Benakiva is a local North Carolina company that basically uses Fluree to track certain aspects of a life insurance's journey and where and who it's been modified by. Idea Block, I think Eli spoke to this group maybe last month, but Idea Block is really a fascinating idea, using substituting or providing an alternative to the patent system. So being able to cryptographically claim an idea when you have it, so that if later on, if you want to prove a claim, or you can show that it's been documented. And soil health, another kind of local North Carolina initiative, but they're using Fluree to track and trace various soil analysis and watch the life cycle of nutrients. And again, that's here in North Carolina. So kind of a neat project to be a part of there. And then we've got many more, but those were kind of just a few quick snapshots. And that's kind of it. I mean, that's a real brief overview of blockchain, and kind of, again, from the enterprise perspective. At this point, I guess we can maybe open it up for some questions. Obviously, there's our information here. So we're Winston-Salem-based. Happy to take questions now. Happy to engage afterwards and learn more about, or tell you more about Fluree.
Scott, this is Farouk again. Thank you so much. That was an excellent review of all the things that Fluree is doing. can you just give us a little bit of background on your involvement with Fluree, how long you've been there, and if there are any near-term projects that you can highlight that might be, without giving away, secrets, if you will, but can you share with us some of the highlights of some things that might be right around the corner, or things that Fluree is looking to do in the coming months and years, especially in consideration of the post COVID era that we're going to be getting into? Is there some things you can highlight for us that would be interesting and exciting for us to hear about?
Yeah, I can do that. So from my involvement standpoint, so I've been with Fluree for almost 2 years. Previous to that, so I kind of have come through my career of 20 plus years at this point, has all been in and around enterprise software, maybe primarily on the healthcare side. And so yeah, Fluree itself has been around for about four years. Brian Platz, Flip Filipowski have been working on it for some time, but depending on where you draw the line, about 4 years. And they've got just a tremendous pedigree in kind of that enterprise data management space in the world. So but yeah, that's and then I run the sales organization, and then as far as exciting things that might be coming down the pipe, I highlighted I mentioned at least the Air Force. We've got a lot of interesting things coming in that kind of DoD world that we're really excited about, and I can't share tons of detail there, but I think that's one big thing. The other maybe thing to mention would be we're pushing hard towards an open source type model. So we're hoping that probably by mid-year this year, we'll have an open source version of Fluree. And yeah, those are a couple of things that popped to mind.
Excellent. Yeah, that is exciting. And we do have a question coming in. And can Fluree expand on their partnership network?
Can we? Is that the question?
That is a question. My question is if Fluree can expand on their partnership network, please.
Yeah, so we have Buck Flanagan on staff. He's in charge of our global partner network. So we are absolutely excited to talk to those that are interested in helping, from an SI standpoint, or any flavor of partnership. We are absolutely looking to do that and are actively building those relationships out now. So please email me and we'd love to engage. Any other questions, Farouk?
Scott, I've got one more here. Yeah, it says, there's a question that says, can we ask about the Winston-Salem Health Partners School of Medicine opportunity? Is that something you can expand on for us a little bit?
Yeah, so it's, I'm not sure what to expand on there, but yeah, we're working on that with them, Winston-Salem at Wake Forest. So they are, I think the 4th largest research facility in the country. We are working with them right now. We've got a couple of kind of pilots going on, but one that's really interesting is tracking the data from certain types of IV pumps, and how that, and basically just tracking what the data look like at a given time. So, as people are auditing a medical record, let's say, giving them the ability to look back and say, okay, well, what was the data when the doctor or when XYZ made a decision? What was the data available to them at the time? Right. So that's one of the beautiful things about Fluree with its time travel ability, is being able to just quickly be able to scroll back into time. And that's really been appealing to the wake folks. But yeah, we've got a number of things that, hopefully we'll be able to publicize over the next period of time with them as well.
Exciting. Okay, thank you, Scott. I've got one more. So this is what I was going to ask prior to the last question coming in, and again, as it pertains to how we have been focused on educating those around us and policymakers as such. You guys are, again, a success story here in North Carolina. We want to demonstrate how institutions and entities like yourself are doing or establishing partnerships with existing businesses and other entities, and particularly in government, especially with your new Air Force collaboration. Is there any advice that you would give to other blockchain startups in finding opportunities, say within the government sector, and how to facilitate going from an initial introduction into a full-fledged collaboration, as you guys have been able to do?
Oh dear. Yeah, it's, especially with the federal government, and, I think all government, there is some complexity. There is some there's bureaucracy. There are a number of folks out there. So we really relied, we had a couple of key partnerships that I would say was the kind of at least the beginning of our success. I mean, obviously you've got to have a product that works and meets a need, but we partnered with a company that basically specialized in helping navigate something like the federal government, and that was tremendously helpful. So there's a program called SBIR, SBIR, Small Business something, and that's a great vehicle. It is, I want to use the word simplified, but it's still pretty complex. But that's something that as a startup, I would encourage you, if you've got something that you think plays in the federal government, that would be a program I would say investigate heavily and participate in one of their cohorts.
Excellent. Okay. In other words, there is value in outsourcing. If you're interested in getting involved with the federal government, there is value in outsourcing certain services and tools that might be available to the startup community and to do the research.
Yeah, I would, we went through this process that I mentioned, and we had a partner that was helping us navigate, and there were people in our cohort that you could tell did not have that guidance, and it was evident that they were they were struggling just to kind of navigate the landscape within the federal government. I mean, it was a really well-run program. I will say that. So, bureaucracy and whatnot aside, but there was, the communication flow and whatnot was sometimes a little challenging, and just having that partner definitely was helpful. But there were plenty of people that I think successfully navigated it by themselves as well. Just maybe with a little bit, the first time through is always tough, and as you do it, because you can go through this SBIR program multiple times. So obviously the more times you do it and the more familiar you are with the processes and way things work.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It is 10:30 and I don't see any other questions coming in to me. If any of our audience members have any more questions, please type it in, or you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask. And we'll give it just another minute or so. And in the interim, I'll just, again, on behalf of Eric Porper and Dan Spooler and myself, the co-chairs of the North Carolina Blockchain Initiative, I want to thank all the people who joined us. I want to thank all of our members of the North Carolina Blockchain Initiative, and of course, the Lieutenant Governor himself and his office and his team for allowing us to continue to put on these webinars and give us this platform to expand on, again, the exciting news and North Carolina related pertinent material that we want to continue sharing with the public at large. And there are other webinars coming up. We should have another one as early as next week. And we'll be sending out a reminder on that within the next 24 to 48 hours. And if there are no more questions, Scott, I want to thank you and Flip and Brian and all the team members at Fluree. We're really, and Kevin, and we're really excited to have had you with us. And we're really proud of Fluree as another North Carolina success story in the world of blockchain. You know, please, all the audience members, please reach out to Fluree if you have any further questions, or reach out to us. If you come up with a question, we'll be happy to connect with our friends at Fluree and get you an answer to your question. And if there are no more questions, I'm going to bid everybody a farewell and hope everybody is safe. And we look forward to seeing and speaking with you in the near future.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for joining us.